Yeah, that's why you play footy, right? You want to win premierships.
One of the most decorated players in the ATCO Waffle W competition, Jayme Harken is enjoying a big year on and off the field. She is our special guest for this edition of On The Mark. Jayme Harken, welcome to On The Mark. It's great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Appreciate it. It's exciting.
2026, it's already been a big year for you. We're only halfway through it, but on field and off field.
Started the season really well with Claremont and had a pretty special state game in there, which is pretty cool. And yeah, 2026, getting married as well. So it's all happening. It's a big year.
Let's go back to when you were a little girl, where footy was pretty much part of what you knew as something you loved. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, absolutely. It was something I loved to watch, but didn't quite know at that stage that girls could play it. So when I was a young girl, family, big Eagle supporters, I was a big Eagle supporter, loved going to games with Dad, and my brother played Auskick, and at that time I was doing netball because that's all I knew. But yeah, footy's always been a big part of my life collectively as a family, and then when I got a bit older I found out I could play as well. Growing
up in Northam?
Yeah, that way, yeah.
Tell us about the pros and cons of living in a country town.
Yeah, so we actually lived a bit outside of Northam. We don't mention it too much because not many people know it, but one day we were on a farm. So we were on a sheep farm, about 20 minutes from Northam, just beforehand, and so many pros of living on the farm. I was there till I was 15, so yeah, half my life now was spent there, and I definitely haven't forgotten it. That's the biggest thing with when you think about the pros, you would have forgotten key elements if it wasn't a big part of your life, and it really was. That's where I learnt everything on the farm about hard work, and being on the country is just beautiful being out there, so yeah, a really special part of my life.
Does growing up on a farm as a girl, does that quickly turn you into a tomboy, as they say?
I've got a sister who's definitely not, so I wouldn't say that. No, I think actually my partner sort of always says to me, she's like, you really don't act like a country kid, which is funny to me, but I think it's just like you get to experience different things that other kids don't. So you go to school with kids that live in town and do sport and everything like that, but I get the extra element that I got to help the parents round up the sheep, and when it's lambing season, you get to do all those elements which are really fun. So I wouldn't say that at all.
You mentioned your love of footy, but I've got to look down to go through some of the other sports you've tried your hand at, including martial arts, which was something you were very proficient at, netball as one of the sports you really enjoyed, basketball, the martial arts side of it. How?
Yeah, so as all kids do, love sport, played all the sports under the sun. It's actually my brother, so it was in Northam. My brother started karate, the local Northam PCYC there. It must have been through a friend that he found out about it, and he started. Then my dad started actually. Then I started. My mum and my sister had a taste of it at one stage, but the three of us, my dad, brother and I, continued for a long time. My brother actually stopped, and it was just Dad and I for a long time, and actually my dad still does it. So it was a crazy time in my life, and a sport I never thought I'd do. But I think there's sort of two sides to it. There's the competition side, and there's the art side of it, and the discipline side. And learnt so much about myself there, had some really great mentors. I did both sides of it. So I did work myself up to a black belt, but the other side is for a couple of years I did actually compete as well, nationally and internationally, which was an insane time, and something I don't talk about a lot, only because it's sort of, people go, what, like you did that, like that's a very weird thing to do, and nothing that I'm ashamed of. I'm very proud of it. It's just a unique side that takes a long time to talk about as well.
Black belt, that's significant.
So I think I did it for 13 years consistently, and I reckon, I'm trying to think how long, maybe 9 years it took to get my black belt at that stage. But it takes a lot. It's just a lot of repetition, extra work outside of training as well. So I was doing it 4 times a week as well with my other sports. So at that stage I was still doing netball. I think when I was in Northam I was still doing basketball, but when I moved I continued karate and dropped off basketball. I was swimming when I first started as well, and then picked up footy. It was footy, netball and karate at one stage, so lots of sports till I was about 22 is when I just went to the one sport.
Tell us about the opportunity to play in Perth in the competition that's now known as the ATCO Waffle W competition, and how you earned that break.
Yeah, it's a funny one. So I played state league netball for 7-8 years, so Wannell, so very similar Wannell waffle. I did that till I was 23, so it was 2 years where I did both. But when I was 22, I think that was 2018, the year before AFLW had started, so 2017, and I started going down and watching Freo games, and I actually went down to a couple of local finals with Swan Districts and Coastal Titans at that stage, so now Subiaco, and I went to their finals and I heard all about footy, and I was like, wow, women really can play footy. And unfortunately in the wheat belt there's still not a women's league, and that's the only country area that doesn't have a women's league, and that's probably why I wasn't exposed to it. But I was at a point with netball where I loved netball, but I love the challenge as well, and I probably wasn't going any further with it. And I said, oh, what an awesome time to give a crack for footy. So I actually just did some research, went to those games, and I called around. I called Swan Districts at the time, actually, because they were my closest club. I was living in the hills. And I called someone, and they said, oh, we train Wednesday, Fridays. And I wasn't ready to drop netball yet, but I wanted to dabble. And that was the same nights as netball. And then I called Coastal Titans. At the time, I didn't know, I just called the most successful clubs at the time. And they train Wednesday, Friday, but they're like, we're really open to you trying once a week. And that was actually Martine Pierman at the time, who is coaching at Eagles. And yeah, I went down and haven't turned back since, and dropped netball off the year after and focused on footy.
So Subiaco, the experience there, how important was that as a grounding for what you've done after that?
I was at Subiaco for 5 years, so still longer than I've been here at Claremont at the moment. But yeah, a huge part at the time, because AFLW had just started and they were only playing about 6 or 7 games, and all the AFLW players were playing at waffle level as well. So some of the likes of, I went straight into, I haven't actually played a reserves game of footy, I've played league, which was a big shock to me. But I was playing with Hayley Miller in the midfield, Courtney Guard, who was Courtney Stubbs at the time, Lara Filicamo, so all AFLW players, Danica Piscaneri, and just learning my trade off players like that was huge. And I think it was the best thing that happened to me, diving into the deep end there. And across those 5 years I played every line. I started off as a tagger. That was my first year in the midfield, so to support those players I just had to learn my craft by running around with some of the other best players in the competition. Then I became a mid forward for the next year, and then I think the COVID season the year after in 2020, which was the end of the season, the week before I got told I was playing backline, and played that for 2 years before I went back to the midfield for my last 2 years there. So yeah, Subiaco, I learnt all about my footy, obviously honed my skills in then. I could read the play as a netballer, I couldn't kick in my first year, I was pretty bad at that, but all my other elements, I always had the contested side. Even in netball I was pulled up a lot for that. But yeah, and also just taught me so much about how much more there was to know about footy when you're not playing, when you're not watching. When you're playing, it's so different. So yeah, had heaps of role models around me teaching me. I think I had the hard work, I just needed the know-how with footy, and yeah, I owe that to all the people at the club for those 5 years. Going
from Subiaco to Claremont, how much of a emotional decision was that?
Yeah, that was a pretty hard time. I reckon I still hadn't made a decision at the end of that season in 2021. I just knew that I wasn't loving my footy as much at that time. And my partner Claire had moved over. That was where I met her, and that's a significant part of my life as well, but she had already left for Claremont. And while I always said to her, I was like, I'm not leaving the club, if I'm still enjoying it. And it was never about following her. And I did my research, and I looked at other clubs, and I just knew I needed a change to, I think, go the next level with my footy, but also to make sure I still enjoyed it, because it was a sport that I knew I loved, and there was just the environment at the time. I was losing the love, and I think it was just the challenge that I needed. I needed a new challenge, and yeah, I did all my research, and I had a chat with Jack, and I'd also, outside of speaking to Jack, I'd spoken to some friends at the club and people outside around what type of coach and what the club was like, and made sure I did my research. And I think it was maybe a couple months after I had all the conversations with all the significant people at Subiaco, and I wanted to make sure I left it, one, in a better place, but two, made sure that like they knew that I appreciated everything they'd done for me, but that I just needed a bit of a change at that time.
It's been a stunningly successful time for you at Claremont. 2 premierships, 2 Dara Kerr medals. If I'd offered you that when you walked through these doors, you would have taken it in a heartbeat, I'm guessing. Yeah,
that's why you play footy, right? You want to win premierships, and was very lucky. I mean, even at Subiaco, was in finals 4 of my 5 years there, which was so lucky, and 2 grand finals in that time. Unfortunately, hadn't got a win. 2022 was the start of Subiaco, didn't make finals for a couple of years, and Claremont had just come off a premiership. So obviously it was probably looking like a really good move from a club success perspective, but I wanted to make sure as well that I was going to add value to the team too, and if you'd offered that at the start and that I could be a part of that, that is pretty enticing, and it's been a really exciting time.
You mentioned the premierships, which are part and parcel of playing at any club, but the personal honour, the Dara Kerr medals, it's something that I'm sure you weren't jockeying for, but how do you look back at a career that's, you've won 2, you've come close on other occasions, and there might be another 1 or 2 left in your career?
I think I mentioned those players that I was playing with at Subiaco. I'd seen a couple of my teammates win it, and I know like the type of impact those players had on a team. So I know when I went back to the midfield that I had grown so much as a player, and that I was really ready to give it a full crack. And I think that's what every year I go into it wanting to get better and get better. And I think the time that I've stopped footy is when I stopped wanting that and stopped wanting to challenge myself and work on a part of my game. And I think that's what I brought. And 2023, sometimes things just work out. Like when you don't miss a game, that helps as well. And the players around you as well are really important in that. I know if you speak at the highest level, like Brownlow medalists say that they wouldn't be where they were without the players around them, and I 100% believe that as well. But it was pretty special winning 1, let alone 2. Very much a surprise as well. I did not expect any of that, and I mean, I said I was a backie for a couple of those years where you feel like you're playing good games and you don't win votes, so it's definitely a midfielder award as well. But it's pretty special, and also over the years learning, I guess, about Dara Kerr herself and the type of impact she's had, and obviously being at Claremont, she was at Italy Piranhas, so a Claremont player. Learning how much of an impact she had, that made it even more special as well.
And I mentioned 2026 to be named captain of your state side, win a medal as part of an extraordinary day against South Australia. That's a little bonus, I'm guessing. The
last 3 years I've been able to play in that state team since it's been reinvigorated, and the state captain the 2 years before is a really close friend of mine in Kate Orme, and just the way she goes about it, I was never there to be a Kate Orme, but I was rocking up to the state team and wanted to give my all and be me, and the girls decided that was the type of leader they wanted, which I was really honoured about, and the biggest part was to get a win, having played in 2 losses, and to do it in the emphatic style that we did was huge, and to have Jack as the coach for those 3 years as well, get success for him, and then just the group that we had together, it just made it all the more special, to have the honour of captaining that team as well, and state pride is huge, so it was pretty special.
So you've been around the footy circuit a bit now. Women's football particularly, it's been a grind, it's been some pioneers who've done the hard yards. What space do you think it's in now in terms of credibility, competitiveness, future career, all those elements? Do you feel that the growth is, you can see it for young girls coming through who look up to a Jayme Harken?
If you think even when I started in 2018, most of the girls there were coming from different sports. Most of the girls didn't play from junior footy, so even in 9 seasons for me, and Waffle W has been around for 38, 39 years, to have players now that come through and they're like, I played Oz Kick, and even I think it's the majority of our team now have come through all the way from Oz Kick, and I get asked what my junior club is and I have a bit of a laugh because I was like, obviously that didn't happen for me, I didn't have a junior club. So I think that growth has been so significant, and that girls know that they can, like when they're a young kid, they can choose to play footy if they want to. They can play footy, they can play netball, they can do all the sports, is pretty huge, and the skill level of those girls coming through as well is significant. But yeah, as you said, like making a career out of it, like I don't think even when I started, girls would know that they could play all the way through and that could be their career, and they could have so many different avenues, not just playing but coaching as well. Umpiring, being in the admin staff is a huge part of that, and I think it just shows the impact that footy has on women as well as men that we've known for many years as well.
What do you think when you talk about your time at the West Coast Eagles, albeit a short period of time? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel grateful? How do you look back on that period where you had a very close look at what it's like to be an AFLW player? Yeah,
it was a really short time, but I think as well I had the attitude going into it that like this could be as short or as long as like I'm not sure what it's going to be like, but I got picked up 2 weeks before the season started. I've just come off a season where I've won a premiership with Claremont, so I've been able to play footy as well. And I came into it, I was like, I'm just going to give it the biggest crack possible and not regret anything that I did or didn't do. And I made sure that, I threw everything into it and, learnt so much about myself as a player, what it's like to be at that level. I had girls around me, and myself and Tess Lyons were picked up at the same time, and we were still working full time and playing AFLW, which was insane. And I think 80% of the girls there weren't working, that was their full-time role. So it was just like understanding that, like how cool is that they have that opportunity. And because like it was a short-term contract at that time, I couldn't throw all in terms of quitting work, which is probably a good thing in hindsight. But yeah, like the coaches around me, obviously being coached under Daisy and having those experienced AFLW players there, and I had a really good connection with them anyway. I'd been trained on for a few years, and most of the girls were West Australian girls anyway that I'd played against. So yeah, really special time. I got to play 5 out of 11 games as well, so like that was huge as well. Unfortunately we didn't make finals that year, it's the year after, which was not frustrating, but I was like, oh, at least I got to help the girls grow through that season to get into finals next year. And I even got to kick an AFLW goal. So yeah, I do look back not frustrated, not at all. Obviously wish that things maybe were a bit different, but also so grateful for the opportunity in the first place, because it may not have ever happened.
This is a couple of questions I asked to all our subjects on the mark. First up, what's been the best day of your life so far, Jayme?
I'd have to go to 2024 Premiership, only because I'd experienced grand finals 2 other times, and three times. That was my 4th go at it. The year before, when I moved to Claremont, I honestly walked away from the loss of my 3rd grand final and thought, is it me? Like, am I cursed or something? So 2024 was so special. We did it against East Freo and the history of East Freo and Claremont at that time. So yeah, that was a pretty special day. Yeah, just all around the atmosphere, the lead up to the game, the narrative with East Freo. So that's pretty huge. But I may at the end of this year, I'm getting married to my partner Claire, which is going to be pretty special. That may become, it should become, the best day of my life. I don't know if she'll tell me off for that or not. But yeah, so far it's been the Premiership, but I know I've got some pretty great days to come.
And for all the good times, occasionally you reflect on a tough day, a day that challenged you or a time that challenged you. What's that for you?
I think I spoke about my time on the farm and my family. I've grown up, and I probably get emotional about this, but really tight-knit family. But yeah, about 3.5 years ago, it's probably more a time, my parents broke up, and I get asked all the time, was it easier because you're older? And I reckon it was probably harder when you've gone through that long a time with your parents, your family so close, and yeah, it has broken us up a bit. I'm lucky that I still have a relationship with both parents, but my siblings aren't the same. So yeah, so that's a pretty tough time. But I think moving into like my wedding, it's making it a bit tough as well. But yeah, I'm lucky to have both parents, and I think I've grown stronger through that period and learned how to have some pretty hard conversations as well.
My parents broke up when I was about 5, so trust me, you will get through it despite the tears and the pain. I totally empathise with what you're going through at the moment. That being said, what is on the agenda for the next In 10 years from now, what will Jayme Harken be doing? I know you're doing a bit of work with WA football, so is there, from a football sense, is there a coaching element inside you that thinks you'd like to pursue that and outside of footy?
Yeah, when you hit 30, you think you would have worked out what you want to do in life, but no, it definitely is in the footy space, and I've worked, I haven't for the last 3.5 years, but before that I've always worked in sport. And I think I put that on pause because I wanted to focus on me playing myself. But yeah, I'm hoping in 10 years I am working in the footy space, and whether that's WA football or at Waffle W level or even AFLW level. I love the coaching side of it, but I also love like the footy ops side of it as well. So I really hope in 10 years time I'm working in that space, and I know Claire has a passion in that space too. So it's going to be really interesting for both of us in 10 years what we're doing, whether we're doing it together or separate or opposing. But yeah, that's definitely the aspiration.
Kids?
Yeah, definitely kids. Cost of living these days makes it pretty hard, but yeah, definitely kids. And it's funny because obviously being 30 and Claire's about 18 months younger than me, you start having those conversations about how long we're in footy for, and obviously both being females as well, when you talk about kids, it's like making those decisions. So yeah, probably not anytime soon, but in 10 years, hoping to have kids as well and settle down in a house, and loving exactly what we're doing.
Well, we wish you all the best for the impending wedding.
Yes.
You've had a stellar career with Subiaco, Claremont, WA. There'd be so many players that would love to have achieved what you have. Jayme, thank you for your time on the mark, and best of luck for the rest of 2026.
Thanks so much, appreciate it. Thanks.